Welcome everyone, and welcome to this Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework bi-weekly sync call. I'm Paolo Pialorsi, and today I'm your host. So let's have a quick look at the agenda of today's meeting. We will start with some information about the PnP community by itself, and then we will dig into SharePoint Framework latest news. We will also see some news about Viva Connections as well. Then we will talk about the updates from the community, so PnP.js, CLI, and the reusable controls, as well as the search controls. And we will see what's news in the community samples area. Then it will be time for the together mode picture, and we will end up having a couple of great demos, one from Derek about building an help desk adaptive card extension for Microsoft Viva, another one from Joel Rodriguez about getting started on building SPFx solution with reusable open source controls. So first of all, we need to be aware of the fact that everyone can contribute to this community. This is a really open and inclusive community. And if you have any demo or any sample that you want to show and share with the community, please register. Here you can find the URL, aka.ms n365pnp/request/demo. Register your spot and present your demo in any of the upcoming community calls. You can also contribute to the community on GitHub, either creating issues in the repositories or making pull requests if you want to write code and give back to the community, or just providing questions and sharing your point of view with the whole community. You can also provide your feedback through any of the available channels like the tech community or any other channels that we have. There are also plenty of digital content available for you to learn how to build Microsoft 365 solutions. There are videos, there are open source samples, there is the sample gallery. There are plenty of URLs that you can use. And just for the sake of simplicity, stick into your mind the aka.ms/n365/community. From that URL, you can go everywhere else and get access to all of the content that we have in the PnP. We have plenty of community calls, almost on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. For example, we have the weekly Microsoft 365 platform call, and here you can find the link to register and to dig into that one. We have calls about adaptive cards, the identity platform, Office add-ins, and the Power Platform, as well as a PnP community, we have a couple of bi-weekly calls. One is this one, the Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework one, and the other one is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community. So register for those calls, save them in your agenda, and contribute to the community. And talking about the community calls, on October the 11th, there will be the Microsoft 365 platform call, so next week. And specifically in that one, we will have an introductions to record management APIs on Microsoft Graph, as well as a really interesting demo by Gary and Ika about how to build a common bot for Teams using the Teams toolkit for Visual Studio Code. Talking about how to contribute and how to be part of the community, I think that David wants to share something with us, right, David?
Absolutely. Thank you, Paolo. Well, friends, Sharing is Caring is a program here to provide you hands-on guidance. Now, many of you know about this, many are new. So what it does is we will meet with you in live sessions, safe space opportunities, which means we don't record them. There are opportunities for you to ask questions about any and all of these topics, as well as interact with members of the community, members of Microsoft, and MVPs. We want to empower you to be able to do more within the community. And sometimes we understand things like contributing to GitHub can be a little scary. That landscape can look a little weird with terms like fork and pull request. What do those mean? So you want to make sure that you are empowered and feel confident, and that's what we're going to provide you with these sessions. We have new sessions being scheduled here as we move into our winter months and the summer vacations are over. And we just had our live one at the Power Platform Conference, in fact. So the first ever live Sharing is Caring with in-person attendees, which is very, very cool. So keep an eye out at aka.ms/sharing is caring. Now, once you do contribute, we want to make sure that you are recognized for this. So our recognition program has been set up in partnership with Credly. Yes, that same Credly that provides those badges to you when you get certified. Those very same badges can be achieved for contributions to the community, a variety of ways in which you can be recognized. In fact, some of our presenters today will be recognized with a badge. There's some for blogging, Power Contributor for the Power App samples, Sharing is Caring, general badges as well. So it is free, absolutely free for you to opt in, aka.ms/m365 PnP-recognition. We do need you to opt in though, so that we can kind of connect your GitHub account to your Credly account. And that way we know when you contribute. You only need to do that once though. You don't need to do it more and more. So you'll be on the lookout for those as we moved into a new month. You're going to see some new badges, and it's also October or Hacktoberfest. So we're going to have a special Hacktoberfest badge that we'll be releasing over the weekend. So be on the lookout for that. So appreciate everything you're doing. Paolo, back to you.
Thank you, David. And yes, let me say that if you give back to the community, you will get back from the community recognition. So really, a really interesting program. Thank you again, David. So it is now time to talk about the latest news in the area of SharePoint Framework and Microsoft Viva and Teams and SharePoint extensibility. So, Visa, please.
Yep, let's go in here. Quick update in this one. We already mentioned the Viva announcement here last time, but just to call out, yesterday we released, or day before yesterday, depending on which time zone you're located, we released an update related on upcoming announcements and availability on the Viva Home Experience. And Viva Home Experience seems to be going to be available for first release tenants by end of this calendar year. But again, the timing might change. And Viva Home is something which ties in all of the different Viva modules, and it can be extended with SPFx as well. There's a bit of more details updated on the Microsoft Viva blog with the latest blog post released yesterday or day before yesterday. On the usage, and just a quick update in here, we had an all-time highest usage on a week before this. This week, there has been quite a few public holidays in the Asia explicitly, which is then impacting the overall usage a bit, which is as expected. But it's great to see the growth curve for SPFx, and we're expecting this to further continue within upcoming months. So it's a safe bet, certainly, to bet on. Quick updates in here. Again, 1.15.2 is the latest version for production. 1.16, we already have a preview out of that. We're looking into having an updated preview of that within upcoming weeks, which will help to have for example, native typings for the Teams JavaScript SDK v2 directly in the context and all of that. And the 1.16 general availability will happen by end of this calendar year, and then 1.17 is intended to happen within the first quarter. So that's good timelines for that. In general, we will announce something cool related on SPFx and new capabilities within next week in Ignite, which I cannot go super detailed at this moment. I will call them out then next time within the SPFx call. But that's the gift on the slide. But let's go forward. Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you, Visa. And now it is time to talk about the PnP.js client-side library, which is fundamental whenever you want to build a client-side solution, and specifically an SPFx one. So I think Julie will jump in.
Yes, thank you. So we have version 3.8 coming out next, released October 14th. So as always, general documentation updates. Patrick has been doing a lot of stuff because I have been quite busy myself, but we have some updates to caching and search. He is working on some testing improvements, so we're doing a lot of work there. I don't know that it'll be all done for 3.8, but there will be some improvements there. He made updates to the I folder, I file, copy by path and move by path to increase the metadata and to make those a little bit more robust. So that is done. And we added two new methods called file from path and file from absolute path, which allow you to get a file outside of the current web just using a relative path or an absolute path. So that's pretty powerful. We also added then the same for folder. So folder from path and folder from absolute path. And he added an extra little thing to the SP queryable object, which every method in the Fluent chain is an SP queryable object. And so now you can do the get context info, which will tell you about where that call is being directed. So you can get the context of the call. So that can be super useful, especially if you're dealing with lots of objects, making sure you're where you think you are. Again, any of these updates are in that nightly build if they were merged in, so you can get that through npm. And always follow us on M365 PnP.js on Twitter for the latest updates. And that is all I have. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Now talking about CLI for Microsoft 365, plenty of news there as well. So I think most likely Gary will jump in.
I am here. Yeah, thank you very much, Paolo. So yeah, hello everyone. So we've got it's a new month with a new minor release of CLI for Microsoft 365. So this release is 5.8. Not many updates from actually the last time I presented this. Just everything's been rolled up throughout the month and has now been released. So if you want to get the latest updates, just install that from npm using the @latest tag. And if you want to run this in Docker as well. Again, use the latest tag to get all the latest announcements. So quite excited that we've got this new command in the CLI for executing custom web requests as well. Really super useful. I've actually used this in the last week to fill a gap of our commands that we didn't have. So I really encourage you, if you do use this command and you need to use it because there's a command missing, please let us know so that we can raise an issue and we can get that actually into the CLI as a nice friendly command, so you don't have to write the URL requests yourself. And another thing about issues as well, and David mentioned this earlier about Hacktoberfest, is well underway. We've got tons of good first issues. So if you're looking to find a repository to get your 4 Hacktoberfest PRs in, please check out the repository because we have a lot in there, and we're going to be creating a lot more throughout the month to make sure everyone's got opportunities to get that swag. One thing that we really want to encourage everyone to do this month as well is you'll notice that we have a Discord server now. So we've set this up, and we're going to see how it's going to go. So if you are on Discord, please join. We've got the invite link on there. We're going to see how it goes. We've got events on there. We're going to try and do all sorts of new and wacky things. As Kevin's just mentioned, young and trendy. Don't think I'm classified in that, but yeah, please join and join in the conversation. And that's it. I'll put some links in the chat so you can quickly get there into Discord and see our release notes as well. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you, Gary, and really great idea to have a Discord channel to talk about CLI. Now, still talking about the PnP controls, libraries, and tools provided by the community for the community, we have to talk about the SPFx reusable components. We have new announcements in the dynamic form, in the people picker, and in the modern taxonomy picker. Specifically in the dynamic form, now you can hide some of the fields, and it has been improved in order to manage custom rendering for fields. This is really, really useful whenever you want to create a form customizer with SPFx nowadays in the modern UI. There are also the React property controls, where we have some new capabilities in the property filter picker and some other controls. And of course, we need to say a special thanks to all of the people who are contributing to the reusable SPFx controls. This is a very long list, but thanks everyone. Thanks for your contribution. And again, follow on Twitter M365 PnP controls if you want to be up to date on the latest news in that area. Talking about modern search, the modern search is improving as well. We now have the version 4.8 beta. In that one, there are some nice improvements, like, for example, the support for actionable adaptive cards in the search results. So you were already able to use the adaptive cards to render the output of the search results, but now you can also make those cards interactive and actionable, so you can click on them and start custom actions, like it happens in Viva cards. And we also have the old version 3.23, which is of December 2021. You should move to the latest one, to the V4, to benefit of the latest capabilities, the PnP modern search. We also have a bunch of samples in the PnP area, in the samples gallery.
I'll jump in here, Paolo. This is actually for, I think Hugo's a little out of sorts this morning, not feeling well. So we have a number of samples available: SPFx extension, web parts, aces, a plethora or cornucopia for our festive fall season of samples. And you can see them all at aka.ms/m365/samples. All are always welcome to contribute. We've got a number of PRs in process that we're working through. It's just been a little slow with both of us being at the conference. So we will be back and looking forward to seeing all those new samples probably in 2 weeks. So thank you all for your contributions and keep them coming.
Yeah, and let me also say that the sample gallery is improving, and most likely in a few weeks from now, you will see new capabilities and new features in there. So keep an eye on the sample gallery, and let's see this really useful tool growing on a daily basis. So it is now time for the Together Mode picture. I think that Vesa, who is the master of the Together Mode picture, will jump in and share his screen. Are you ready?
Master of the Together Mode. Okay, so that's a no pressure. So let me do that. Yeah, 1 second. I'm just flipping the Together Mode status, and whenever we actually get done, let's do the nice auditorium. That's always nice. And let me share my screen so we get things moving. And then let me get the teams back in here. And here we go. And we do have 50 seats in the room. Soon it should, well, I don't know if it's soon, but it should be even a little longer. Not yet. Wait, let's wait for the room to fill in. Let's wait. Few more rows, few more seats. Here we go. Yes, we can see room pingling in. I will click the recording on. I guess we are now filled out, and let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining once again on the community call. Please keep the feedback coming. We are building all of the Microsoft 365 experiences for you. Thank you. Paolo, you should be waving as well. Don't look like that. There we go. I saw you on the back row. Thanks everybody for joining. Had to call you out. Thanks everybody. You're trying to hide on the back row. I know. Thanks everybody.
So it is now time to see great demos. The first one will be from Derek Cash-Peterson from Simpraxis Consulting, and it is about building a help desk adaptive card extension for Microsoft Viva. So please, Derek, take it away.
All right, Paolo, thank you. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So today I'm going to show 2 samples that I built around a help desk adaptive card scenario. These, my name is Derek Cash-Peterson. I'm a principal architect at Simpraxis Consulting. I am based out of Iceland. Let's see what else. I've been doing SharePoint for a really long time. If you have any, if you want to contact me or have any questions at the end, that's my blog and my Twitter and LinkedIn. So there's a couple of things that I want to show in this demo. The first, and we've seen a lot of ACE demos on this call, but the first is how to leverage multiple quick view cards, how to just navigate back and forth between them, but also to show some stuff that we haven't necessarily seen, which is the newer geolocation functionality. So how you can share your location in an ACE and then consume that and do something with it. And also to show the media upload functionality. So you can now trigger a button to open up the picker on either the mobile device or on your computer and add an image or a file. So with that, we're just going to go into the demo part because that's really what folks want to see. So here you can see there are 2 ACEs. We've got the create a new help desk ticket ACE and then the list of pending help desk tickets. So they do have a little bit of configuration to them. The first one, they're both configured the exact same way. When you edit them, it asks for a Bing Maps API key. You don't need an API key to use the geolocation functionality. I will show you what I'm using it for in a little bit. And the other is, because I'm uploading images, I want to be able to store those images somewhere like a SharePoint library. So I added in functionality that checks to see if the current user has the permissions to actually add a library. If you don't have permissions, you just don't see this, and then the button doesn't show up to allow users to do that. So I'm going to click Add Library, and then in the background, it's going to go configure the library. And I already have the API key, so I'm going to go in and just publish this. And because I want to look at it in preview mode, because it looks pretty, you can see. So I'm going to click the Create New Help Desk. And this particular ACE, like I would audience target this to everyone in the company. You could fix this so that it connected to ServiceNow. You could configure this to go to a SharePoint list. This just holds data and goes to a Teams app to show deep linking capabilities, but you could take the service layer and push this wherever you need it to be. So here it randomly creates an incident number, it grabs my name, it provides the image, it gives the open date, and then there's some drop down. So this is going to be an incident, and this is high priority. So I'm going to say, help, I can't log in. And now I can either discard the request or I can click next. I'm going to click next. And now it's going to pull all this information forward. We're navigating to a new card. And because I have the Bing Maps API key, I am showing a button and I'm going to add the location. This is using the geolocation functionality. And it brings up the geolocation screen to show your address. And this is the location that I'm picking. If I click share location, this is going to now trigger an event in the adaptive card. And this is what I'm using Bing Maps for, is to actually get the street address. Now for the image upload, we're going to click the button, and this is going to open up the dialog to choose the image. When I do that, I can pick some recent images that I've been, there we go. And now I can select this image. And in the background, it's processing this image and it's saving it into the SharePoint site that I just created, to the library in the SharePoint site that I just created. And you can add multiple images. And then I'm going to go ahead and submit this card. And this is going to open up the Teams app. But again, you can use this to, to link into your existing help desk system and to save the data there. Now, what happened to that image? In the background, I'm using PnP.js to push the data into a picture library that we created when we configured it. And now it's there and I can go do something with it. So that's the help desk create ticket. Now, if you are working on help desk tickets, you may want to use this ACE. This one lists out the ones that you have assigned to you. So if you click it, now this isn't connected. This is meant for sample data. So this is particularly just pulling in random data. It's not connected to the two. You can show the different help desk tickets that are assigned to you. Click on one, you can see this one is overdue because it was opened on the 28th. The information about it, you can see the image that was attached to it when the person created the card initially. But again, now we can use that latitude and longitude that we got from the get location functionality, and we can click get directions. And this is going to open up Bing Maps directions and say I'm at the Seattle Marriott because this is going to be an in-person call. I can then go get directions for how to get to that particular office and fix that issue. Same thing with the image upload as we saw in the last card. I can come in and the image is just overwrite, so I'm going to use the same image. And now you can see it's attached to the screen. But I'm going to say I took a picture, everything's okay, and now I'm going to close. And now you can see the tasks open up. So that's the functionality in a quick and dirty nutshell. I'm gonna switch over to Visual Studio Code. And now you can see. So so here, because we're using multiple cards, I'm going to use this one as the example here. So when we click over it, this is the quick view card. And we have a button called Next. Now that Next button needs to do something to push us to the next card. So when the buttons, we're going to use this action.submit. So you can see I'm setting the label here called Next button. And this has a string attached to it that says Next with an ID of confirm. When this gets called, when you click on this button, it activates the onAction method. The onAction method basically processes any clicks, most of the clicks that are coming from the cards. So whether it's a submit action or the geolocation or the upload media, it gets to do something with it. So here, because I'm submitting it, I'm taking that I'm checking for that confirm ID, and then I'm setting the values to an object in state. So I'm setting the form elements, category and urgency from that form and setting the property to new. and then putting that in the state and updating the state. But in order to move to a different card, we need to use the Quick View Navigator. So we're taking the Quick View Navigator here, and we're calling the push function, and we're passing in the ID of the add location view. And this gets set in the initialization for the adaptive card extension. So then we do that and we move over to the add location screen. I'm just going to do this real quick so you have something to follow along with. And so this is the next screen. This is the add location screen. So looking at the template, now I had said I sort of gave it a little bulletproof. I checked to see if you have the Bing Maps key. So I'm using the when attribute, and I'm saying if there is a key, show the button, and if there isn't a key, don't. So if you don't have it, no big deal. You just won't see that particular button. And then I'm using select action and calling one of the new types called Viva action.getLocation. And then we can press in just one parameter for this particular one, and that's choose location on the map, which means I get to move that little dot around, so I can choose that. There's additional logic here for the image. I'm setting a flag when I load the web part, I'm checking the permissions for the users, and I'm setting a flag called can upload. So again, I'm using this when functionality to show and hide different elements on the adaptive card, based on whether or not the user has permissions or the ability to do X, Y, or Z. And then I am using the Viva actions.selectMedia type for this particular button. That's the button that is going to open up the media window. And I have the ability to select, can I allow multiple images to be captured? What types of files do I want? I can restrict it to JPEGs. I can restrict it to PNGs. You can set up a whole bunch of different stuff to do that. And then again, where I said that on action method processes all those things, in the TypeScript file for that, for the on action for the add location template, we've got two different elements in here. The first is we're checking if you are the get location action. The get location action returns a latitude and a longitude. So you're going to get 45 and -122. I am saving those in my ticket in state. And then this is where I wanted to go and get the street address. The geolocation functionality just out of the box gives you that latitude and longitude, but I wanted to make sure that I had the street address. So I'm calling a function in my service layer called getLocation, which calls the Bing Maps API to get that data back and to get the street address and to send it back. And I'm saving that in the ticket itself, and then I'm setting the ticket in the state. Where I am using the select media function, I'm getting all the different attachments that came through. So if you have more than one, if you processed 4 images and uploaded them together, I'm processing the image data, creating the URL, and then I'm saving that data into the SharePoint list with this get image, this add image function. And you can see I'm using PnP.js to push that image into the SharePoint library. And the end result is what you see here, and then pushing the data into that library. And that is all I have. So I can hand it back. And if there are any questions, I can answer them in the chat.
So one question, which is actually kind of interesting on the solution in here. This is really cool, and this is a great solution. Well, the design is coming from Microsoft. We are partnering together with StreamPraxis on this, so we're kind of working together with Derek. And then thank you, Derek, on creating the designs and examples. And we're working on updating the gallery solution in the store as well. Can you actually point to the solution in the store, just to showcase where people can get these example scenarios?
Yeah.
Let's go to AppSource, appsource.microsoft.com.
So if you're in here, you can search for it. If you search for Viva, there is the adaptive card extension gallery right here. So you can take this and you can provision this directly in your tenant right from here. As Vesa mentioned, we have a update coming with all that geolocation stuff. I'm just waiting for final approval from the store folks. But this has all 14 of these demos that are sample ACEs that I've demoed a few times on here.
And just to again recap on that one, so they're not really functioning end-to-end scenarios because they don't actually work. They don't integrate to a CRM system or a ticketing system. They show a scenario, so they're there for storytelling and for decorating the dashboard. So you can actually kind of have an easier discussion with the business decision makers and say, hey, this is an example how your dashboard could look like. So we're kind of adding an additional designs. Designs are coming from Microsoft, and then as said, we partnered with Sim Praxis Consulting, who are really great on implementing anything in SharePoint framework or for Viva, and then we push that to the store. And the last update should be coming in, I think, a few days. Now, one question related on this one, that the solution what you showed was really, really cool. And there was a question related on where did you store the security? So being mapped keys, where are those persistent? That's an interesting question point as well.
So for this example, I just used it as a property on the web part. I mean, on the ACE.
Yeah, and as it's a property in an ACE, it gets automatically stored within the storage layer from Microsoft side. Now, how we would actually do this most likely in production, if we would build something like that, would be that you could actually take advantage of, for example, the tenant properties, which is a capability where we have an API. So in the ACE, you can just request, hey, do I have the license key already in the tenant properties? Oh, I do. Fine, I can actually behave differently. Or do I have the maps API key in there? Okay, I do. Let's take advantage of that. So that's probably the easiest way to do that from a license key or save storage, because then the code can read it, but they cannot modify that.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to point out. So while the entire solution is able to be installed from the app source gallery, if you're interested in how we did this, there's a GitHub repo in the instructions here. It's also in the samples repo on pnp.github.io. And you can see all the source code for what I did. So if you just want to go pick it apart or build your own, by all means, you can go in and grab the code. We tried to build the service layer. There is a service layer in there, so you can just sort of pull out and modify that, to suit your individual needs.
Really good. Thank you. Just recapping again those assets and everything. Thank you, Derek. Really, really cool stuff. And then we'll show back to Paolo, who will probably pass it to Joel. Right?
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Great demo, Derek. So you deserve a big applause. Okay. So, and now let's move to Joel from Storm Technology to talk about getting started building SPFx solution with open source controls. Please, Joel, share your screen.
Hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen.
And we see your screen.
Thank you. So the idea of this session is to, again, create awareness of the controls. We have the PnP reusable controls and property pen controls, and there's still a lot of people that don't know a lot about them or don't use them very often or not aware of they have. And the idea was to just keep showcasing them, so create awareness and basically just transmit how simple and powerful these things are. So let me, for the new ones, if you just search for PnP controls or property controls or reusable controls, you will easily find two websites. So the SPFx property controls and SPFx controls React. The names pretty much give it away. Installation is as simple as scrolling down the page. That's at least what I do. Copy my command line, paste, run, then close the page. I did that already, so I have an Hello World web part project set up here, where I have the two dependencies. So what I did on this project was simply install the dependencies, and then I also came here and I'm passing the context of the web part into a component. You can see here I added a property, and I'm just passing the web part context so I can use it on the controls. Nothing else on the project. So let's go to one of the controls that I just randomly picked, Enterprise Term Picker. And just so you have an idea how powerful and super easy these things are to add, we can scroll down to the usage, and we can just paste this thing on the web part. This is really a strength for me because it's so zoomed in. We need one property for the selection. So we grab the import, we grab the property, and we grab the control. So because it's a property control, we just go down to the area where we declare the controls, copy and paste, check if we need to update anything, save. I know I have metadata, a term group and a term set that have those names. So if we now go back here, and this is our sample web part, and all I did was just copy the control, and we have a term picker. Didn't even have to figure out anything. All you need to do now is just refine any properties you may need, make it multi-select, or it's already true, but change the term group, term ID, whatever. Play with the configurations if the default is not what you need. So next, icon picker control. So that gives us a picker for icons from Fluent UI that you can pick. You can come here, same thing again, copy the import. Copy the code. We now say we need a property for this icon picker. Now save. Our web part now has an icon picker by default. Sorry, on the properties. I think. There you go. And if you need a configurable way to pick an icon on a web part or something like that, copy and paste the code. It takes a few minutes. Another one, I will probably just skip this one for the sake of time, but it's the property field, the role picker, role definition picker, which allows you to select roles in the site. So you can select, for example, on a given web part, if it has something to do with viewers or editors or something like that. If it should behave differently depending on the role of the user, you can configure that through the web part, for example. This one I will show you just because this is extremely powerful control, one of my favorites, and I use it very often, which is the collection data. And you can create a configurable area where you can define this data structure that you want to copy. So on the properties of the control, I'm just using the default that was in documentation, but I think you can figure out from here that the fields are defined here in a very simple way. You can have field types. We have string, number, and dropdown for this example. You select the options. When you put this on the page, all this data is saved as a collection in the web part properties. So if you're doing, for example, something like rendering links, this is insanely fast compared to storing links on a web part, for example, because you don't need to go and retrieve them. When the page loads, they are there. So you basically get a collection of items you can define with the properties that you specify, and then you can save that. And then when the page loads, all the data that you define there is pre-default on the page. If we now go to the property controls, which is the content that you render on, for example, web parts or extensions, same type of installation, come here, copy, paste, close, unless you want to type all the name. The collection of controls is huge, like in the property controls. It's growing every month pretty much. It's a lot of effort to review these PRs, but it's really nice to see the people contributing with so much stuff. So if we now go to our PSX control, just import it. And oops. Yeah, I'm there. And now if we just, so here we looking at the security trimmed control. This is a control that lets you control who sees the content within the control on the page. And it can support multiple scopes. So for example, you can show anything inside this control when the user has specific permissions on the site, for example, view pages. You can look at a specific list or a remote site if you provide the URL, or a remote list. So this is extremely powerful to create experiences that depend on the permissions on the user, and it's extremely simple to use. I've done it a few times. It doesn't have any complexity to the project. All you do is just go to your project, paste that in, and everything you want to render is inside this control. So basically anything you declare here will automatically be permission controlled. Well, not permission controlled, more or less, security controlled. So if we save that, this does not render any content. It will just show or hide what you have inside. So we can quickly show on the page. When it's at the end, it's very small. So let me just now mention something else for people that are new to this. Please go to both websites and check the controls section at the top. There is a lot of controls there. For testing this locally, fork the repository. The repository is actually an SPFx web part project. It's very simple, and it's the same structure that you will be used to work with. You can use npm link. I can quickly show you here. There is a controls test web part, which I can run very, very quickly. There is a controls test web part, which is a huge playground. The project is very, very large. The first time you look at it, you may find a little bit lost, but the structure is not actually that complex. So we have a services folder where most of the services are located. Some controls have services inside the root folder. So when you look at source and then controls, and each control has its own folder, and the services may or may be without that folder, may or may not be inside the control folder. They may be under the shared services folder. There are also hooks, and then we have extensions and web parts to test some of these controls. If you want to contribute, don't be afraid about things like coding styles. Try to maybe have a look first and see how things are done, but each control is basically unique. It was done. There are people who contributed with lots of controls, and even from the same people we see, you can tell the evolution of coding over time. They just getting better and better. but there is no restrictions on specific code styles that you need to follow. This is supposed to be open. You contribute the way you can do things, and if there are things that we think you should be changed just to align with some broad things on the project, we will let you know on the pull request, but any pull request is welcome. So to test this locally, we can run it like a web part called serve. You can go to your website. I'm going to do it on the workbench now. And we can get rid of that. Okay, he does not like it. And there is a web part called controls test. When you add it to the page, it will take a little bit because there's so much stuff in it. And you can see there is a huge amount of controls. Most of the controls will be here. You will notice that some of them may not work for you by default. So for example, the term picker may be using a term ID that is from someone who did the test and left the term ID that he was using. You can just change it locally whenever you need to test a control that doesn't work for you. For example, my Teams is working for me because it doesn't have any properties. I actually forgot to show this control. I'll show you in a second. So this control, like the other ones, was import and just copy paste. There are a few additional things you can configure, but most of them, there are examples here in the documentation that you copy paste and they work straight away. And then you can look at what properties at the bottom of the documentation. There's generally a table with all the properties that are supported, if they are, it's easier if I show, if they are required or not, and the description and so on. So on these ones, you have under controls, under web parts, there is controls test component that is on the web part that the project contains. And then here you can do anything you want. Just be mindful to not maybe check in changes here that are only specific to you. If it's something new, by all means, no one cares. Whoever is going to change it next will have to adjust it to their configurations. Or even if you want to make this more easy to test, feel free. At the moment, it's just a massive playground where people dump things. Just try not to duplicate things too much. Otherwise, the performance here will be very, very slow. So you have all these huge amount of controls you can play with. Initialization for some of the controls, like the term picker or the tree view, which requires a tree hierarchy. It's defined here. You can find the control, look at import, look for the control and see what you need to configure. Then on the page.
Joel, if you don't mind, I'm gonna shuffle your demo a bit. You had the clean web part there waiting. One of the most used controls in these React controls by far is the web part title control, because that should be basically provided by us as a Microsoft, but it isn't. But the code which we have as a web part control in here for sure is the most widely used one by the community and customers and partners. Can you show how do you take that control, specifically just the web part control on that clean? You had that a bit more simplified project.
The other one. Okay, yeah.
So I'm putting you and I'm throwing you a challenge live. This is not prepared, so let's see if we can actually make this work.
I think Alex actually showed that one. I generally show that one, but I was under the impression Alex showed it, but I think it's absolutely fine to do it again. So let me just. Hello world, and so on the web part, property pane and web part title. So the import. And it's not that one.
I love your resolution, by the way, in the computer. So
it's so big for me now.
Yes.
I almost at the point where I just feel like I should step back a little bit.
No, but it's better for us now that you're zooming it. But it's I can imagine that the text is now with the size of a cat, so it's good.
Yes. So on actually, I need to pass a few more things here. So I need the display mode, and I need the applet property. So 1 second.
Yeah, we need to have a property where we are storing the title of a web part.
That was an name yet. So the reason why we need this is because we are on the component, and when we save, the property needs to be sent back to the web part for storing. And I'm lost. What else do I need? The property, I have it. And I need the display mode.
The display.
Oh, and I need the title as well. Sorry.
Yeah, this is what happens when we throw a live question and a request, live coding, with more than 150 people in the call. This is really cool. No pressure, Joel. So you can make this work.
Sorry. I need, yeah, this needs to be a function. I think it's somewhere here. No, we need to get this. I'm pretty sure, oh, there you go. I'm pretty sure I copied this multiple times without having to code it. And now on the web part, yeah, I just need the display mode as well.
Yeah, and the display mode is the one which is basically natively provided by Microsoft, which you can say that, oh, am I in an edit mode or am I in a read-only mode? So because the experience is different when you're editing the web part versus when you are just viewing the data.
I need.
And the web part title is the one that allows you to click in the title and edit the title while
mode.
Instead of going to the property pane.
This is display mode. Okay.
We can do this.
And I need the title, which I don't have here as well. So we need a title. You did choose one that requires more changes. And now I think we have everything. No, we don't. We need to pass the applet property as well.
But all of the what is needed, all of this is basically always in the documentation in the docs. So in this case, as Joel has mentioned, in this bit of a larger set of changes, because we need to have a property where the web part title is being stored, and that's stored within the web part data and blob. So there's a bit of an additional set of configurations to be done here.
Yeah, and just there you go. So pass it to value, and I think that's it.
Crossing fingers, we can make this work. Live coding challenges are always fun.
Yeah, this one is a bit more tricky because I didn't. Oh wait, I was in.
Yeah, it's in the
Get rid of this. Yeah, when we go into edit mode, we then can press heavily, and we can preview. There we go.
Now, of course, the title of a web part should not be the last one. But again, that's a styling thing, of course, from a designing perspective, and we can flip it as the first component. Sorry, Joel, for putting you on the spot there.
No
but I know that you can pull this off because you are maintaining those controls as well. But really, really cool. And as said, by far, the web part title is by far the most widely used control from these controls because it provides the similar experience that a lot of the out-of-the-box web parts in SharePoint are having as a overriding the title.
Yeah, just again, this is more complex because we have the title on the web part properties, then we need to pass the title to the component, then we show it here. If we add it, we then need to send it back for saving on the web part properties. So it needs to go back and forth. That's why we need to go through all those loops. That's not the case for 99% of the controls.
Yeah.
95 maybe.
Cool. Sorry, Joel, for a bit jumping there and asking you to do some extra, but we're running out of time. So I guess we'll throw it back to Paolo, but we'll add the links to the chat, or they've been already shared in the chat, and we'll add them in the community call summary, which will go out tomorrow. But Paolo?
Yeah, thank you. And now we are really running out of time. So thanks everyone for joining us today in this call. Just as a reminder, the recording of this video will be available in 24 hours under the PnP YouTube channel. Here you can find the link. Remember to follow us on Twitter. And the next Viva Connections SPFx call will be on October the 20th, 7 a.m. Pacific time, like always. And next week, there will be the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform call. So on October the 13th, 7 a.m. Pacific time again. So thank you again. See you soon. And thanks for joining us.